We all come from different walks of life, and we face many challenges in life. Whatever you may be going through right now, or whatever you have gone through, I need you to know that you are not alone. I'm Mildred Towns. Let's be real about real life issues. Hello and welcome to Let's Be Real About It, where we are real about real life issues. I'm your host, Mildred Towns. Our disclaimer is that this is a no holds barred zone. Therefore, some of the contents discussed may be offensive to some, and I'm going to say that again. Some of the contents discussed may be offensive to some, but know that this is not the intent of the show. My special guest tonight, y'all, is again none other than Jerome Graham. Y'all know Jerome was here last month. You're in for another treat tonight. And please, I want everybody, who's watching this in your comments and stuff. We want to recognize you as being present tonight. This what makes it fun. So last month, Jerome talked about putting a woman in her place. And so we're going to touch that just to refresh you. Remember, he talked about other things too. So we're going to bring that little clip back tonight and get him to talk about that again. So Jerome, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Again, thank you for having me on. Enjoyed the last conversation with you. My name is Jerome Graham. I live in Virginia Beach. 50 years old. Seen a little bit. Haven't seen it all, but just very opinionated. Stand 10 toes down on what I say. Um, uh, I never speak out of malice as far as being um, uh, hurtful. I just speak from my lens and my viewpoint. I grew up in church. I try to um, for the most part, I try to keep everything um, scripture based off what I know, what I've learned, what I've heard, um, and I really just try to talk to hopefully open up insight from other people's perspective and what they've seen, not just maybe to help them, but to help me. So but the main thing I tell anybody, um, anything I say is not to be hurtful or to call out anything. It's just for me to call out things that we can talk about.
Amen. And that's why I have the disclaimer that says that this is a no holds barred zone. And therefore some of the contents of the show discussed may be offensive to some, but that's not the intent of the show.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Yes, ma'am.
yeah, so if you're listening and it's offensive, we apologize to you now. Don't take it to heart. It's just his opinion and what he's seen, what he's experienced, and it's open. He just blunt and he just open.
I
So
will. Well, I'll say this to you. You're apologetic. I'm not.
mhm,
I'm not apologetic for what I say. Um, uh, because I know I'm not saying it to hurt
to
anybody.
offend anybody.
Well, I'm not saying I'm
Mm-mm.
if I say something, you say, oh, you shouldn't say it like that. Well, maybe you shouldn't have listened like that.
That's true. That's so true. That's so true. So I do want to welcome you to the show,
Thank
Jerome.
you again. Thank
I'm
you
looking
again.
forward to it
Yes, ma'am.
tonight. So we're going to start off with what we talked about last month. We're just going to start off with that, just to touch bases, with that again. Uh, put a woman in her place.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm going to let you have the floor with that.
Um, and it's funny because I had this conversation when you reached out to me, and we were going to talk, and I always use this saying. So when you told me we was going to chop it up again, so I had this conversation with a young lady this morning, and I asked her the question. I said, when I say to you, um, a man need to put a woman in her place, And she was like, well, what man do you think is going to put me in my place? So as we talked, and I explained to her what I meant, and it wasn't from a knock on um, putting a woman in her place. It's putting a woman in her place. And she was like, well, what place do you mean? I said, a woman needs to be protected. Men need to, as a community, cherish our women and put them in the proper places they need to be. I don't believe, me personally, I don't believe that a man should sit his lazy behind at home and a woman go out here and work two jobs while he sit at home, play video games, run the street, do what he want to do, but then yet and still come and say that, you know, he holding it down. And you ain't holding nothing down. She holding it down. So you out of order. So when the stress and the things that uh uh women go through out here in society, I honestly believe a lot of it is contribute to trifling, lazy men, no good for nothing men. I'm not saying all men. I'm saying
Mhm.
men in general, not all, but men in general as a group, um, having put women in their proper place as queens, as helpmates. You know what I'm saying? We as society, man, we care and treat dogs and cats better than we do people.
Amen to
It
that.
goes it goes the same for men to our women. It sounds bad and it sounds sexist when I say put a woman in a place. But I honestly feel if more women were to listen to experienced older men that have made mistakes, that's willing to step up and admit their mistakes, go back to biblical scriptures, listen to a lot of old head women, them great grandmothers, them grandmothers. I'm talking about the ones that have been through, seen some things, can talk to these young girls on what and how to conduct themselves as young women. Have the men as fathers, uncles, brothers, set examples and show the women in the house and out in society how women should be treated. They'll be able to identify the trifling, no good for nothing young men that's walking around here just basically want something to ride, want a coattail to ride on and a house to live in, and not stand up and take care of his responsibilities as a man.
So what? This is something I want to ask, and I have some background going on, but this is something that I want to something that you said. You know, where women have these no good men in their house, and they going out to work, and as you say, they working two jobs, and um, and they settle. They settle. I've been there. I've been there, done it. And they settle for the man. I can't say they settle for the man having sex with them, but they go to work and everything, and the only thing the man do is make love to them, and it's like they settle for that
Well, um, um,
because he ain't producing nothing, he ain't bringing nothing.
I don't even. I won't even. Um, if you understand the makeup of the man, you know what I'm saying. Um, the same way that he's using you to take care of him, he's using you to take care of him. And when I say that, I mean it from a sexual standpoint. There's no way that a man can sit at home and you take care of him. You know what I'm saying? And show him that you love him and you come home and he makes love to you. No, he's just having sex with you.
Mm-hmm.
He's not making love to you because it's a two-way street. What love is he giving to you by allowing you to go out here and work two jobs, come home, still cook, still take care? Listen, I knew a girl when I worked at Food Line. This is no lie. I knew the dude. But I knew a girl that went out and worked 2 jobs, would get up, drop the kids off. Now, granted, one of them was his, one of them was another dude's, but she would drop the kids off at daycare, go and work 2 jobs, pick the kids up from daycare between the 2 jobs, go home and cook, and would still come into the store and carry him like he a king. Baby girl, you the king. You the one wearing the crown. You honestly, you need to put the little, what's the little tutu thing that the prince, the little tutu. He need to put the tutu on. Get him some panties and some thongs, and you need to put them on him. Have him pushing the basket while you pulling the front of it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, come on, really? But he's not making love to you. He's just having sex with you. Because love goes 2 ways. What is he doing for you?
You see what Donna said? Donna Carter said, "It ain't no way." She said, shaking my head. She said,
Hey, hey,
"It ain't no way." See, and you know what, Jerome? That leads to question two: why are women so easily deceived? You finish up what you were getting ready to say, and then we go because this leading up to that. Why are women so easily deceived? Because that's a type of deception.
um, honestly, um, how can I say this? Um, I don't think that they've heard and instilled in them concrete truth.
Mm-hmm.
So they're hearing everything they're allowing in this day. And I mean, and the same thing was going on years ago, but but now it's a little. At least back in the day, there was some kind of shame to it. At least it was some kind of shame. If you was younger, I remember when I was a little kid and a young girl or whatever got pregnant or whatever, my grandmother would be like, man, they would send you out of town somewhere.
Yep.
So that, and I was like, huh? But now it's kind of like it's like you 15, 16 with a kid or whatever, or you got a dude uh that you holding down. These young girls is walking around like it's a badge of honor. And I'm like, but again, it goes back to the men. It goes back to that boy. What was that boy taught? That boy was probably taught or seen the examples in the community by older heads that player, player. What you doing, boy? So you be playing that boy, you got game, boy, you got game. But it's something that's carried. It's constantly carried from the young boy thinking that that's how he should act and carry it. But then it just trickles down to the young girl that she thinks that that's an acceptable trait of a man, but it's not.
So do you think they think that? And then I'm gonna read what Jahari said. Do you think that they think that because um, that's what they know? They ain't been shown nothing
They haven't
different.
they haven't been taught. They haven't been taught, and they haven't been taught properly by women and men that have put um um the women in their place to be able to teach how not to do that. You understand?
I
So
understand.
when I make the statement, put a woman in her place, put her in her place so that she can teach the next generation how not to make the same mistakes or similar mistakes. The men need to stand up and recognize the mistakes that we've made in women's lives. Take accountability to it and teach that game on, baby girl. This is what you don't want to do. When you see a young boy and he's making these kind of moves and he's moving like this, that's the kind of individual you want to stay away from.
And
Not
that's
saying that
also
not saying he
well,
can't, not saying that young man can't change, but until you see the change, and I'm not talking about seeing it on the surface. I mean, see fruitful change in that person, man, stay away from them. You real talk, you can do bad all by yourself.
And that's why, Jerome, it's so important that dads play a role in their daughters' lives.
Yeah.
And another thing that you had talked about in the other day, and you were talking about some men look at it as, your granddad, your uncle, granddad, somebody held up a belt and all the notches in the belt.
Oh
You,
yeah,
you
yeah.
talked about that. I want you to talk about that, but I'm gonna read what Jahari said. She said, I don't think that they are deceiving themselves all the time. I think they are settling for what they thought was roses.
Yeah, true. Yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. I
Yeah.
definitely. I talked about my grandfather and the belt situation, and he was just talking about being a man, and I didn't understand it. When I think I was 16, 15, 16. He held a belt up, and he said, "You see all these holes in in the belt?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "You ever heard the statement, notches under a belt?" He said, when it come to females and not just, but we were talking about just life. And I was like, "Yeah, Pop." He said, "Always remember, it doesn't make you a man with how many women you sleep with. It makes you a man to have the discipline and the love to sleep with one."
Hmm.
And I
And
never, I never, I didn't catch it. I didn't understand it. But my grandfathers passed. You know what I'm saying? My grandmother, my grandfather, when they was younger, they had their ups and downs as a young married couple. Um, you know, uh he had they separated. He had two kids by another young woman. And he was open and shared this with me. That's why I loved him and cherished him, because he never pulled no punches with it. He was like, "Look, this is what I did. This is how it was. This is what went down." And I have to live with that the rest of my life. I have to live with it for the rest of my life. You know what I'm saying? Not from just the marriage standpoint with your grandmother, but that was two children that I wasn't in their lives. Somebody else took care of them, but I fathered them. He said, "I got to live with that." So it really bothered him. So he was just trying to help teach me at a young age, don't make the mistakes that I made. And I
mhm.
felt like those things made me not a perfect man, but it made me a stronger, more aware man of what I'm doing, what you do. You know what I mean? But at the same one time, I ain't gonna sit here in the camera and tell you, my saying is, I'm as straight as a snake's back. So it is what it is with me.
Yeah, because that's so true. And Donna Carter said, believe patterns, not promises.
Hmm.
That is so true because a man will make you a promise. Man will make you a promise, and his promise isn't worth a hill of beans.
Nothing. Nothing.
Nothing. Because he won't carry out what he promised. But as she said, watch the patterns.
My actions, again, it goes back to actions speak louder than words. Going to my grandmother. My grandmother used to always tell me, "Don't tell me you love me. Your mouth can say anything. Show me. I go
Mhm.
off what you do, not what you say." So in my family, hearing the word "I love you" is rare. It's rare. But when things jump off and when things crack off, man, we can argue. We can be arguing 5 minutes later. You know what I'm saying? If something come down and we need to pull together, it's instant because we understand that love. We just fighting and arguing in a minute. But as soon as it's over with, I mean that argument gotta continue. But when we need to pull together, we pulling together. And that's just love.
So talk about why men haven't been men and how does this relate to society?
Um, I think men haven't been That's a long one with me, because I believe that um, men across the board has the responsibility of being a man has been diminished, and they haven't been held accountable as men. And I'm saying that across the board, not just all men. I'm just saying men in general. Um, I think that men absence from the house, um, having and putting women in a position of wearing the hat of the man and the woman, has given women a mindset of I don't really need a man because I'm out here doing it by myself. So the responsibilities of the man is still there, but he's just not being held to do them. And he's
Mhm.
being allowed to escape the responsibilities of a man. But yet and still we want to still stand on the mountaintop and yell that we men. But I feel women should hold men to a higher standard,
Mhm.
should not settle for uh um not settle for half a action, just the action in the bedroom. You know what I'm saying? Uh a man that's really going to stand up and show the example of protecting them, cherishing them,
Mhm.
and honoring who they are and how important their existence is. Think about it. Without a woman, there's no future.
Mhm.
You, you understand what I'm saying? Without a woman,
I understand.
there is no future. The big song back in the day, Whitney Houston, when I was younger. Dun, 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 children are the few people. Children are the few. I ain't really like Whitney, but she was alright though. Children are the future. Teach them and let them lead the way. But the children aren't coming forward without the mothers, without the women. So the trauma that we as men are putting a lot of the women through is affecting the children and the society that's going forward.
True. And then, and talking about what makes a man, uh, and bringing a woman into that same aspect. Why do women, and it's not all of them, involved with a man, boy, whatever, and they find out he with someone else, and then they're ready to fight the woman that he's involved with, because that speaks volume about this man. He don't want you, the woman he with, and he don't want the one that he's cheating with.
Mhm.
But you're gonna get mad and you're gonna fight over a man that don't want neither one of you. Because if he loved you or in love with you, he would never even go out here with this other woman. And then he sits back and he look at the fight going on, and he over here with somebody else too. So you
Yeah,
two fighting, and he's over here with somebody else.
yeah. Um, but that's the chess game. That that's the chess game that men play. Positive Towns, and you're a woman.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but let me say this, and hopefully the women that's out here can get will accept this. Men aren't the same way that women say that we not as stupid as y'all think we are. Please know and understand that men aren't as stupid and as dumb as y'all think we are. We're just not as calculated as you all are. You all think women that want to cheat, they think 2 weeks ahead. Men think in the moment. But the difference between women cheating and men cheating is men cheat out of men cheat out of physical wants. It's not all emotional. We can walk away from it and have nothing invested in it. Women get caught up in the feelings. That's why
Mhm.
y'all be fighting. While y'all fighting, we prospecting something new.
Something new.
So it's a chess game. I mean, it's a chess game. So, and I'm not saying all, but for the ones who play that game, that's what the game is. They don't, and I'm not gonna say they don't care. I'm not gonna say they don't care because if there's a act of cheating or him constantly engaging in a relationship with you in whatever aspect, it's not that he doesn't care. You know what I'm saying? It's not that he doesn't care or whatever. Um, he only cares to a certain point.
But they reverse that around. Now this man to go out here and cheat,
Uh-huh.
but when he find out that the girl that he may be living with, or the girl that he feels as though is his main squeeze, and all these other ones are just, as they may call it, chicken heads. But you, my main woman. But then when he found out his main woman is cheating on him, he can't take it.
That's a punk.
But you
That's a
find men that do that, they
that's
cannot
that's a,
take
that's a punk.
a woman cheating on him. But he can get out here and do it, but he freaks out with his
Listen,
main squeeze.
um, what would you hire? So why is it wrong when a woman does the same thing that a man does? It's not wrong. It's not wrong. You know what I mean? But
We was thinking on the same line.
the man, the man doesn't um um the man can't accept. You know what I'm saying? Being cheated on. You know what I mean? The man can't accept it.
But why
Um,
would he issue something out he can't take?
say what now?
Why would he issue something out that he know mentally he can't take?
He doesn't know it. He doesn't know it until it happens. He doesn't know it until it happens. It's more likely for a man to cheat on a woman than a woman to cheat on a man.
True.
In my perspective, it's more a man will cheat on a woman before a woman will cheat on a man. So men haven't men haven't experienced enough of the woman cheating to have um a life lesson to pass down through the generations, but a woman have. A woman can go and you can go back to the great grandmother, whatever she can talk about, the great grandfather. He was out there in the streets, yada yada yada. Why? The woman was at home taking care of the kids. So the
Or
man
in
always,
church.
or in church or whatever. But the man always knew 9 times out of 10 where the woman was. The woman never knew where the man was. So there's no history. But now, oh man, when Mr. Jones came home and Paul was in there, you heard that headboard hitting. Oh, he had to gather himself when he walked in that house. Knees got weak. Looked like he took a punch to the chin. Couldn't take it. Didn't know how to react because it's not an act that happens to men all the time. For us to take it, women built women built different. Man, listen, women are stronger than you think they are,
I know that. That's why we made from a rib.
and
And
men,
look, a rib can mend itself. And nothing you
yeah,
can do to a
yeah,
rib will mend itself.
men themselves can heal itself. Men just do a lot of things that um men do a lot of things out of ignorance. And when I say the ignorance part is the hurt, not knowing the hurt aspect of it. But I tell I'm older now. I'm older now. I just call it for what it is, man. For all the females out here, I ain't telling you to do. I mean, I'm just calling it from my perspective. Your man cheat on you, whatever. You know what I'm saying, and you love him or whatever. Go cheat on him. Let him know about it. And you got two individuals that's in there. I bet you won't cheat again.
See, and Jahari brought up a good point. She said when women go out and do the same thing the men doing, she's called loose, or she called a whore, or she called a B word.
But who calls them that? Who calls them a whore?
Men who out there doing the same thing.
But why do you think men do that?
Why do men call them? I'm just gonna say why men call them loose and or out of their name, call them
Yeah,
another name.
yeah. The reason why we do that is to create shame, to create it a shameful thing. But if you notice, men never call men whores. We call them
Oh no.
players, call them
Mm-hmm.
studs, call them this, that, and the other. They we glorify the same actions that we judge women on. But it takes two to do it. So how do you consider and call her um uh a whore or this, that, and other? Just like when I was younger, uh uh I was young, I was talking to my wife, and some of my history, I used to do strip parties. I used to promote strip parties back in the day. And she was like, "Oh man, they out here the whores and this, that, and that." I said, "Well, nah, they not whores." I said, and she said, "Oh, they out here sleeping with all these guys." I said, "Well, let me ask you a question." I said, "If you slept with 5 guys in your lifetime, and a prostitute slept with 5 guys in one night, what's the difference?" She said, "Well, I was in a relationship with them." I said, "Y'all both still slept with 5 guys. Only difference is she got paid and you got your heart broke. So what's the difference? You can't pass judgment. So why does the men pass judgment of calling them whores and this, that, and other? Is to take a lot of the light off of them and what they do, and to try to convince you that it's something wrong. I mean, you as the woman, that is something wrong in what you're doing. Not saying there's nothing wrong in what you're doing, but we never stand up and say that we whores. We kind of shine a light on it, put a medal around your neck like you just won the Olympics or something.
And it brings me to that verse in the Bible when the woman was caught in the act of adultery.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't bring the man to Jesus; they brought the woman. You never saw the man; they brought the woman to Jesus and asked, what you say concerning this.
Yeah. And what did he say?
He wrote in the ground. He without seeing cast a stone.
That's first song. Because basically, yeah, she's uh she's having sex, but who is she having sex with? Where's he at? So the same way you're gonna pull her forward, you need to bring him up here too. And the same public shame that you're doing to her, you need to do the same public shame to him.
Mm-hmm. See, and Sylvia Knox said it stops the woman and places her in bondage.
As far as it stops a woman and places her in bondage in aspects to in reflections to.
I guess places her in bondage with the name calling.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Definitely, definitely.
Because now she's thinking, okay, am I really a whore? Am I really this? Am I really, a B? For doing the same thing that he's doing. He called one thing, I'm calling another thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And if that's the right point of view that she's coming from. So Sylvia, if you don't mind, if you want to clarify what it is that you're saying, but that's how I grab what it was that she was saying.
Yes, ma'am.
So talk about too, and I think you may have touched on this last month too. A man makes a woman who she
What
is.
she is. Yeah, I had that conversation this morning too. That was good. Um, it's all in. I'm sorry. It's all in how you take it. Um, I I meant to write this down, and I didn't. I hate that I didn't. But I'll use this illustration. Um, uh, I asked the young lady, um, was her mother and father together? And she said, yeah. My father was a fireman. My mother was a stay-at-home mother. I said, how many siblings? She said, I had one other sister. And she went on and I asked her the question about the mother and the father, their parents. And she said, the father was raised by the father because the mother died when the father was younger. And the mother had both of her parents. So as we were talking, I said, man, did your father talk to you and cuddle you, hold you, this, that, and other? And she was like, yeah. I said, did he ever hold your hand when you walked across the street, or hold your hand walking down the street, or going to get some ice cream or whatever? She said, yeah. I said, and we went on fast forward talking about relationships. And she said, I was in one abusive relationship. She said, not physical, but it was verbally abusive. And she said, as soon as it got to a point where it was escalating and I saw that this is who he was, she said, I was out the door. I wasn't going to put up with it. I said, that man made you who you were.
Mhm.
Your father never talked to you like that. You never saw your father talk to your mother like that. You never saw your grandmother and you never saw your grandfather talk to your grandmother like that. They made you and molded your mind and showed you examples on how a man should treat a woman. Therefore, when you saw those characteristics that was different from what you were accustomed to, you quickly dismissed that dude. That man made you what you were and what you are today. You're not going to put up with any foolishness from a guy outside of treating you with love and respect, because that's what you saw the man do. That is what I mean by he put her in her place of understanding she should be respectfully spoken to. She shouldn't be disrespected. That's the place where she should be. A man makes a woman what she is. If the mother comes from a family where the father abused the mother, and the mother goes into a relationship and accepts the abuse from another man, it's because she believes and has accepted that that's a natural trait in a relationship, because that's what she saw. That man made her come to that conclusion because of what she saw. Or you'll have the standpoint from a woman where she's not going to put up with it, and she has some type of a disdain for men, or don't want to deal with them, and want to show minimal love because she's afraid of showing all love like she saw her mother do, and look at what her mother got. But if that father had never beat her moms, was abusive to the mom, the daughter would have never seen it.
Mhm.
She wouldn't have come to that conclusion on how to, when she comes to that crossroad on which path will she take. She'll either accept it or she won't. But why put a child, or why put a woman in the position of having to choose a road? There should only be one path. She shouldn't have to choose
So
whether
true.
she's going to accept it or not accept it. She shouldn't even be subjected to it.
So true. And Sylvia Knox said identities.
Yeah.
Sylvia Knox said
Hmm.
labeling. Somebody else said, Chris White said real talk. Somebody else said, Chris White also said identify.
Identity. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, so true.
And that's something that just popped up in my mind that I think really need to be addressed. And because this have happened to so many women. So many women have been date raped, and a lot of people say, well, you can't be raped in a marriage, but my opinion is that you can. So many people have just been raped, um, and this is like an overpowering of where a woman's will is overpowered. Can you talk on that?
Um, I I've never and this is truthful. I've never come into contact with with a woman that's ever been willing, just in conversations, to disclose any intimate details of anything trauma like that happen in their lives. I can't really speak on, because I've never really had a chance to really talk to somebody who's been through that, to ask the question of how it affected them or whatever. I would love to, um uh and I'm not talking about something you see on TV. I'm talking about, I like to just interact and ask my own questions. But when you ask me how do I feel about it, you mean it from a male standpoint? Why? Or
Why do men feel as though they want to overpower a woman? Because women are very sexual beings, and some men just I don't know how to phrase it, because you said you never met a woman that's been raped. I was raped.
mm,
I was raped. I'm a victim of being raped, and I don't know why that came to my mind tonight. And I have spoken to other women that have been raped,
mm,
and it's a thing. First of all, I was in the wrong place that I shouldn't have been, being
mm,
married in the wrong place that I shouldn't have been, but yet, uh, being in the wrong place, that doesn't give you the right
mm,
to rape me, and it doesn't give the man the right to rape anyone else. There be some people just out jogging in the park,
mm,
and a predator out there just overpower them and rape them.
mm.
If a woman not willing to give you her body, what makes you think that you have the power to just randomly at will to overpower?
I honestly think that if you were to dig into the psyche of a man that rapes a woman, he's strong in strength. He's strong in strength, physical strength, but mentally he's weak. Therefore, he can only the only strength that he doesn't have, the strength in the game to come out of his mouth. He doesn't have the vocabulary. He doesn't have the swag. He doesn't have the confidence. You know what I mean? To approach a woman, engage in a conversation, try to get inside of her head, for her to want to give him, for to want her to give her body to him. He's not strong enough.
Mm-hmm.
So he'll use his natural brute strength to take it, and that satisfies that appetite of getting a woman. If what I'm saying makes sense.
It makes sense. It makes sense because he could have identity crisis. And Chris White said, a man who is not under the authority feels like they can do anything. Women should stay away from men who are not under authority and held accountable to another. But a lot of women don't know that the man's not under authority.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But again, that's not something that's taught.
As he said too, it's
They're
something
not
to stay
taught.
away from.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. When you see those characteristics, um, I honestly believe, now that I'm older, there should be there should be a series of questions that a woman should ask a man just to get their answer,
Mhm.
but then sit back and watch how his answers manifest themselves over time. I'm not saying in the moment. I'm not saying a week or two or nothing like that. Ask them questions and watch how they manifest themselves. Watch if what he says he's gonna do, he doesn't do it for a week or two. Man,
Amen.
Chris, that's true.
Amen.
That's true.
Amen, Chris.
Um, um, uh, watch it over the long haul, what that man does, how he carries, because it's like a person that doesn't know how to long distance run. They come out the block strong. They sprinting, they gunning. By the time they get halfway around that track, they breathing hard, they huffing and puffing. Where that person who knows how to run and pace himself and is true to what he's saying, I'm a long distance runner. Running around the track is nothing to him. It's like second nature. But as far as women and falling for falling from the falling for the short end of the stick with men and a lot of the promises and things that they do, I think they should find out what it is they want from a man, ask the questions to see if the man can deliver those things to her, and then watch those things manifest for the long haul, not the short term.
And that should be reversed too. The men should ask the same thing.
Same
When
thing.
they meet a woman,
Same thing.
find out, watch for patterns. Just like Donna Carter said, watch for patterns. Just don't take what she promised, but watch for the patterns.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do a research on them. Do a background check. Do a research on them.
I told I was talking and I told someone, I said you need to look at relationships like buying a dog. You need to look at relationships like buying a dog. You need to look at that bloodline. Look,
Mhm.
young bulls, men or whatever, man, go around that girl's family, see how that family conduct themselves, see how that grandmother, how that mother, how that if you know if it's uncles, fathers, or whatever around, it'll tell you a lot about that female. Females, more importantly, stand around, look at that bloodline and that dude. See how that dude talk to his mother. Because if that dude will cuss his mother out, it ain't nothing for him to cuss you out. If if
Nothing.
if that dude will talk trash to his mother, his sister or whatever, you just another shorty on the block. He'll talk that trash to you. Look at his bloodline. Not saying he's perfect. Not saying he's not going to do things, but it won't be a consistent pattern, and he'll check himself. So yeah, watch that bloodline.
Yeah, because but they, because that will let you know to. And this is what I tell people: make sure you want to be a part of that family.
Yeah,
Make
yeah,
sure you want to be a part of that family. Because when you say I do, you walk down that aisle or stand before the justice of the peace or stand before that chaplain or that preacher and you say I do through better, worse, sickness, hell, you said it to that whole entire family.
well, it will.
Do I want to be a part of this family?
I would say yeah, wholeheartedly, but you don't really have to deal with that family as
But
far as
some
being around
point in
the family.
time, you gonna deal with that family. Do you want to be in a family that say, uh, do you want to be in a family to where you can't even go to the family reunion? You can't even go, to the mother's house without all this conflict and all this stuff that's going on. Chris White said it's the responsibility of the father to make sure the daughter is not walking around full of voids,
Mhm.
not building the female up from a child will have her looking for love in all the wrong places. Exactly.
Now,
Exactly.
to Chris's comment, to Chris's comment, I'll take it a step further. As far as the responsibility of a father to make sure the daughter is not walking around full of voids. But there's a lot of men that's walking around with voids. That's
Mhm.
why they don't know how to treat that woman, because they're walking around with voids because they didn't have a father or a man. Because sometimes the father die, or whatever the case, the uncle or whatever the case. Um, um, Men are walking around in voids like me. I didn't know my father. I knew my father, but I didn't know my father. I've I've seen my father physically, touch my father maybe I think 5, 6 times in my entire life. Me and my father talk on the phone. My father and I broke down and shared a lot of things with each other. My grandfather was there. You know what I mean? But my grandfather, my grandfather's background, he used to drink and used to beat his mother. You know what I'm saying? My grandmother and my grandfather used to fight when they was coming up. You know what I mean? They never showed that to me. They never showed that to me. I never saw that. I would see them have their little words or whatever. But I never saw it. But as far as a father, there were things that my grandfather couldn't put in me because his father didn't put it in him.
Mhm.
There was things that I've done over my life that I still to this day deal with a huge sense of depression. You know what I mean? When I was younger, I used to constantly think about killing myself. I used to really suffer with depression. That's why I used to work so much. I've always worked 2 and 3 jobs. Um, um, that was my therapy, was working. I never turned to drugs. I've never smoked. I've never done drugs. I've never drank. I knew that that just wasn't me. But that father, um making sure the woman is not feeling, is not walk the young female and daughter not walking around with voids. There's men that need to be taught how to be men to fill voids
Mhm.
in women and young women and daughters who have voids in their lives. But to Chris, that was a good point, real good point.
And Sylvia said something else too. Um, the many fathers are missing in action for both genders.
Yeah,
And that's true. Fathers
yeah,
are missing in action. And
yeah.
some of them got fathers in their home and they still missing in action.
Well, they had men in their homes,
Hmm.
not really fathers. And growing up in church
Amen,
and
Sylvia.
growing up in church, and like I said, I don't do everything biblically, um, but I honestly believe, um, God made man in His own image. If to all of us men out here, and women, if you really want to find out who you are, what you are, and get a better understanding of yourself, read His Word. And if you don't want to do nothing but seek out scriptures of the defining of God, and what His image is that He made you in, not that you are God, but the images and the characteristics of Him, um, that'll help you to be a better person.
Amen. 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 I have truly, truly, truly enjoyed this tonight. Uh, just something for everybody listening to think about. Jerome wants to know, and we don't even have to discuss this tonight, from any pastors that may be listening tonight, or your pastor at your church. You can go to your church and you can ask him, why are churches, pastor, leading people to heaven, but not leading people here on the earth? So that's going to be a topic that we're going to come up with, that we're going to be talking about. And I think it's a very good topic that we're going to discuss and we're going to talk about, but we're not going to discuss it and we're not going to talk about it tonight unless we really ain't got all that much time left. But Jerome, I want to thank you so much,
Thank you, thank you.
so much for coming on the show and just pouring your heart out in truth, with truth,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
and giving people stuff to think about, giving people uh things to think about. Why does this stuff happen? You
Yes,
know,
ma'am.
why does this stuff happen? So putting knowledge out there, understanding out there about a whole lot of stuff that doesn't be explained. And say thank you both. This was amazing, as was the first
Yeah,
episode.
thank you,
Thank you so much, Jahari.
thank
Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. It's always a pleasure. When guys come in on whatever the topic is, whatever the subject may be, it's always a blessing. So, Jerome, tell people how they can contact you.
you. You can contact me. My email is at the bottom, jeromegraham3013 at gmail.com. Uh, if you're having the Sandbridge area, you can go into the Walmart. I'm always in there working. If you want to just pull up on me. Um, uh, I'm really just, just out here in the streets. Not hard to um not hard to approach if you see me or whatever. Not that I'm anybody to really approach, you know what I mean? But as far as um positive towns to you, if they want to reach out to you to get at me, um again, but I really, because it was heavy on me today. It really was, because my conversations that I had. Um uh I'm gonna let the softer side of me come out for a minute. Man, to anybody that's listening, um, or whatever, um, I made a lot of mistakes in my life, a lot. I was taught, when I tell you, I was taught, um, from a biblical standpoint. I had a mother, I had a father, um, uh, that hustled. You know what I'm saying? Uh, but they taught me principles in life that I live on, I stand on. You know what I mean? Even to a lot of stuff they did, they told me it's rules to this game. You know what I'm saying? In these streets, is rules. And you gotta live by them rules, because the rules don't change. Um, from my grandmother and grandfather, they brought me up in church. When I say I'm a church boy, I'm a little church boy, front pew, tambourine in hand. I grew up in church. Prayed every at 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and 9 o'clock. That's how we prayed in the house. Um, I don't say anything to anybody to try to hurt them, or whatever. I just love healthy conversations, that hopefully they can enlighten me to some things. Hopefully I can enlighten them to some things. But more importantly, just having a comfortable, open conversation. Um, but on the other hand, if you do have a conversation with me, do you trust and believe? As long as I know I'm telling the truth and I'm not coming from a malicious place, I don't care about your feelings. So if you do pull up on me, make sure you understand I'm gonna give it to you rough and raw, and I don't back down off nothing I say. So take it in love, or don't take it at all. It is what it is.
It is what it is. Sylvia said that the only way you're going to get to know a person is spend time with that person. How to know what's inside of a person, spend time with with
Oh yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
our parents. Exactly. And then somebody, Kent, was that Kent? That said, Kent, somebody said, hi. Hello, Kent. Mr. Ferguson,
Yeah,
thank
it
you
was
so
good.
much
It
for
was
tuning
good,
in.
Mr. Ferguson. It was good.
Yeah, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Uh, and as always, again, I say, Jerome, thank you so much. Y'all be looking for Jerome back next month. With the I will put the unadulterated truth. It's not covered up.
Yeah.
It's nothing covered up. It is what it is. And if let's be real about it, has been a blessing to you, y'all. Consider sending a love gift to $ Mildred Towns. If it's been a blessing to you, which I know that it has, because you coming in tonight and was part of it tonight. Thank you. So please, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Let's Be Real with Mildred Towns. And you can contact me by sending me an email to iheartministries@gmail.com, or you can give me a call at 757-776-2987. And please, y'all, you can order my book, You can order my book. You can get it off Amazon, or you can send me an email and say, I would like your book. It's my life story. I talk about the rape that I talked about tonight, being raped and all of being raised in the church, as Jerome was talking about, and the stuff we go through, in the church and stuff. So it called My Closet Secrets Revealed. Uh, uh, and my brochure, if you're ever thinking about getting an abortion, whatever, because we do that. It's called Hear Me and Cry from the Womb. So you can contact me at iheartministries@gmail.com. 757-776-2987. And again, I just want to thank everybody who tuned in tonight. Thank you. And also want to thank my sponsors tonight. I just want to thank you. And you can contact me again at iheartministries@gmail.com. 757-776-2987. Special thanks to all those who watched the show nationally and internationally. Thank you so much. Until next week, let the peace of God reign, rule, and abide in your hearts. I'm Mildred.
Hey, Apostle Towns, can I say something real quick?
Yes.
Hey, look, to everybody out here who listening, y'all saw her cash ad. Man, once a month, if you tuning in and you getting anything positive out of this, start with $1. That's 25 cents a week. It's $1 until we see you next month. Invest in the ones who's investing in you. That's one of the problems out here amongst us as a community. We don't support our own. To your book, how much is your book, Apostle Tam?
It's $10.
$10. $10. 10 people buy a book. Even if you can't read, buy the book to support.
Amen.
And give it to someone who can read to read it to you while you're in the bed going to sleep.
Amen.
It's a good nighttime story.
Amen.
Y'all support.
Amen. Thank you.
Yes,
Amen.
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And again, until next week, let the peace of God reign, rule, and abide in your hearts.
So, hey, hit that subscribe button and click like. We need that too.
She said, done.
We need that.
Yes, I'm Mildred Towns, y'all. Thank you, Jerome. Thank you.
Family, love you. All right, y'all have a good one. All right, man.
What up, y'all? It's your boy back on stage. We here at J&K Styling Grill with my main man.
J&K Style Grill, home of the original waffle burger, stuffed wings, and Philly steak egg roll.
The food was amazing, man. I'm talking about collard green stuffed chicken, mac and cheese stuffed chicken, waffle burger with the special sauce.
With the special sauce.
Come on, man. What are you doing if you ain't eating here? You're wasting your life.
Pull up.
J&K Style Grill, you can copy the style.
But never the best.
We got it.
We got
Hey.
it.